Dear ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Finweek conference. My name is Bielik, and first of all, I have to say that I'm perfect for this conference. I'm the perfect guy to lead you through the discussions about online banking. The reason why is my cell phone. Just let me show you. This is a Nokia E52. So I'm a dinosaur by with using all these online possibilities of today, and I will be proud to hear a lot about it from our perfect speakers. The other reason why I'm feeling like a dinosaur in your company is all those photos. When we can have a look at the speakers, I will show you all the young people which will take part on our discussion. It will be Mr. Pierre-Alexandre Boulay, which is the head of enterprise sales at Backbase. Just look at this young face, full of energy. And the other one, Mr. Jan Lambert Voortman, and he's the managing director lending at Ohpen, president of the Netherlands Chamber of Commerce in the Slovak Republic, a young man, again, full of energy, full of optimism. And Subhobroto Chakraborty, founder and chief digital consultant at the Digital Fellow.com, is not an exception, also a young man, full of power. And then look at the photo I have there. It's one from probably the opera 10 years ago. So really, I'm perfect for this discussion. Do you agree, Mr. Martin Horváth?
Good morning, everyone. Well, sure. Yeah, I remember 10 years ago we met first time, and I think after 10 years you still look very young, very full of energy. I think you are great for talks about innovation in banking. So very happy to see you here. And talking about your phone, I think that phone is exactly matched for banking in Africa, because in Africa, all the retail industry is based on this very simple text smartphone. So
Probably I have to
good for
move.
you.
I have to move in a short time. It's my pleasure that our discussion will be led by Mr. Catran. He will deliver his keynote speech, and I'm really proud to introduce Mr. Catran to you. I hope that we have a good connection and we can hear you perfectly.
First of all, thank you for this introduction. My name was not mentioned as one of the young guys, so Peter, I'm kind of more closer to your age, but you look amazing, and I hope for everyone listening today, the audience, wherever you are, that you're gonna enjoy a very inspiring, educational, informative event. And yes, no surprise to see young faces, not just because we say today that the world belongs to the young. Is that if you think about it, the way that technology moves ahead, the speed that technology changes has a big effect also on the work employment market. I mean, to stay up to date today is very, very difficult. This speed is, as we say, mind-boggling. And maybe COVID had a tremendous effect on us pushing ahead digitally. We're gonna speak today a lot about fintech, the climate of fintech, how fintech is becoming a locomotive, a leader when you look at technologies. So we know from time to time there are different trends on technology. Right now we hear a lot about blockchain, about crypto, insurtech. Of course, cyber is all around us. When you put all this together, well, fintech is something that takes hold of all those tech clusters, as we call them. So I think since you're going to hear from professionals today about the trends, about the influence of the changes, maybe some by COVID, but some but generally worldwide, the fact that we are now more and more a global village. meaning as we see what reaches one country or even a one continent quickly spreads around everywhere. I think that I will try and inspire you more towards generally talking about entrepreneurship, talking about the understanding today that, for instance, startups, which we like to say a lot, startups, incubator, accelerators, ecosystems. We love to use all these names, but when you think about it, in the end, it's all about people. So people are the ones that come up with needs. People are the ones to create, to innovate, to develop. People invest in people that do that. People are using what others did. So first of all, it's all about people. Then comes the technology side, meaning once we develop something, it needs to have a purpose. It needs to come and help us in a way solve problems, make it faster. We are living in a very fast world. We want everything like this. We want it quick. We want it when we want it. We want it 24/7. We don't want to answer too many questions. We want something to really understand what we want without saying anything. And then you think about banking, for instance. Those, well, if you think about it, kind of dinosaur organizations. So what they take money, they give money, they loan money, they move the money around. Well, that has been done for centuries. Still, what has changed in banks? I mean, people still come and go. Money is the same. So now we speak more about crypto, for instance. All of a sudden, someone is trying to cut out the middleman. Somehow we're trying to, or we see more and more digital banking. We see that the entire banking community that was pushing crypto aside now is inside crypto, including JP Morgan. I mean, we see that what was kind of stopped or held for many, many years as something that, no, 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 it's like this. And if it ain't broken, don't fix it, is now going through a tremendous change. This change, in some cases, and I think fintech is a great example, this change comes from innovative minds. It comes from people that said, you know what, I'm not kind of scared to swim against the stream. I'm not scared about maybe even educating the market, bringing the market something it didn't know it needed, even. It didn't know that was a possibility. And I will go through extremes to penetrate into the banking system, insurance companies, credit card companies. I will bring change. And just to tell you all, those entrepreneurs between you, those entrepreneurs are kind of a different breed of people. These are people who are hopefully not afraid to fail, for instance, understanding that failure is a major milestone for success. They understand that they must fail in order to succeed, and failure doesn't brand you with a color that says don't come near this person, he failed. The opposite. This guy or this woman failed, fell on the floor, still they stood up and they tried again, hopefully this time more successful. You don't need to fail every time, all the time. Okay, you need to succeed from time to time. But what I want to say now is that there is a worldwide understanding that every organization, in order to have its own kind of right to be developing, to move forward, needs to have innovation, not just to brand it on the flag of saying we are a very innovative organization, but actually be involved in developing technology, in developing innovation. And I can tell you from experience working worldwide with so many organizations, including in the fintech, that, well, many banks right now have their own innovation officers, CIOs, that actively look for innovation. Some of them have their own hubs, their own maybe accelerators in some way that open up, like Barclays, like Citibank, like Santander in Spain, like other big names that they understand that they cannot stand and look at everyone, stand idle, as we say, and don't do anything, and just say we want innovation, but not really get involved. This creates an opportunity. By the way, crisis creates an opportunity. COVID created many opportunities. On the one side, it's bad, of course, and we want it to be over. Hopefully, it will. But on the other hand, it created a lot of opportunities. Digitalize. Everything is becoming digital. All of a sudden, we are not afraid to using apps and do also money transactions. Yes, there is also the other side of cyber, of someone stealing identity, of our understanding of zero trust. Zero trust is becoming a trend now. Zero trust has a tremendous effect on the banking system. I mean, banks in the end manage risks. Banks don't like risks too much. Okay, banks are actually using money of other people that gave them the money to make more money or to make loans or to do any transaction, which again creates a benefit and opportunity, but also create risk. So in a way, probably some of the speakers today will know to speak about opportunities opposing threats, opposing difficulties, opposing hurdles that need to be addressed. So when you try and sum this up, you see that opportunity is always there. It's up to us, the entrepreneurs, to identify it and then act accordingly. Don't run straight away and say, I have a great idea, give me the money. That wouldn't work for you. I spoke about taking risks. And when I say about taking risk is the understanding that even if you consider promoting, developing your own startup, this is already going on a very risky road. We know statistically, and don't hold me for the word if it's 96, 97, or 94% of startups fail. By the way, they fail first year. It's a tremendous risk to have a startup. Also, well, there is an upside, of course, of being a billionaire. Check how many did it. Well, not so many when you look at the world's population. Okay, still there are those who do it. I don't see many think about a startup as a kind of a day job. It's kind of a shortcut to becoming a billionaire. Well, that's a one way to think about it. Let's not dwell into what is a startup right now, but definitely startup needs to have two major things. It needs to be innovative and it needs to have technology. That's clear. If you think about reaching the banking system and say I can print shirts, invest in me, wouldn't happen. And I, by the way, I just said it. Yeah, banks can invest. They can even invest in startups. Does it sound crazy? Maybe yes, but it happens. So right now there is a lot of opportunity when you look at fintech, about the different technologies clusters under fintech, which you will discuss today, and see the opportunity. Then it comes back to us. It comes back to us to act upon this opportunity, to come up with an idea, to have a team, to validate the idea, move ahead, and then reach, as we will all do sometime, reach investors. Do consider the bank as an institution, and by say again, I say banks, I mean in banks, insurance companies, credit card companies, financial instruments. Do see them as your potential partners, your mentors, your investors, and of course, as your potential customers. Again, little bit more difficult because of the risk management there, but should consider it. So, if you will, and you will hear a lot of ideas coming up today, a lot of people saying things, but you need to be kind of very attentive here. I know also you have the chatting option, which most of you will maybe use just to open and close, click it just to see it works, but never write anything. or those who will just write questions, I would push you to use the chat to introduce yourselves. Everyone sees the chat. Use it. Put in the chat who you are, what you want to offer, and maybe what you want to take back. Maybe luck will strike and something will happen. Going back to the subject, you will hear ideas. When you will hear opportunities, you will hear benchmarking. You will need to be very sensitive to understand where can you bring, or where is the low hanging fruit that you can affect it. Again, I would assume that in the audience there are those who are entrepreneurs right now, those who have maybe more mature companies running already, paying customers, and so maybe listeners that just wanna listen. In the end, remember, it's about people, and we need people to be connected, and we need people to be inspired by, with great ideas, and we need people to, become our customers, investors. Stay attentive. Stay attentive, not to your agenda. Stay attentive and open today to take in as much information as you can. Then try and figure out who can support you, who can assist you, who can mentor you, and reach out. Take your idea that was kind of buzzing in your head. Start asking around. Don't be scared. No one will steal it from you. Ask around a little bit. Understand there is a need shared by many. Then a team. Then go stealth mode, under radar. Develop your what we call MVP, minimal viable product. Develop something that does little bit of what you want. Then pursue it forward. Go to your potential customers and try to develop it. Entrepreneurship is been with us from the beginning of time. We just called it different name, but it was always on the small group of people, different than others, that when they have an idea, even in the middle of the night, they wake up, they scribble something on a piece of paper, probably cannot read it in the morning. Those are people that go to extreme. These are people who can self motivate themselves to push forward. In the beginning, you're definitely by yourselves, but you will have the right charisma, the right help to team up and go forward. I would like to kind of sum up what I'm saying to you, and then let you move on to your next speaker, or to your next panel, which I know already is going to be pretty amazing. And to say the following: entrepreneurship is a great opportunity to start your business with technology. You would need to have a real need, which you need to validate before you do anything else. Fintech, out undoubtedly right now, is almost the hottest potato in the market. There is a lot of opportunity in this market. It is difficult, but us entrepreneurs, we it's difficult for, as we say, in the morning. So no issues about it. Push ahead with your ideas. Reach out to people for mentorship and help. Understand the market is thirsty for solutions when it comes to the credit card companies, insurance companies, always. And you don't need to believe me, you just need to look and see the biggest insurance brands, the biggest bank brands all over the world, dipping into the startup ecosystems. They do challenges. They give support in knowledge and mentorship. They give money. So there is a lot of opportunity. Add to the fact that COVID had its effect on us, on all of us. When I mean all of us, the whole of humanity. Also on the banks and all the, as we say, financial instruments. So I would recommend you look deep into this opportunity, grab it, as we say, with both hands, and do something that will affect the tomorrow. I want to thank those who invited me here to carry this speech. I hope it was useful for you, hopefully inspiring. I will be sharing my details on the chat if anyone wants to reach out. And I wish you all an amazing conference. Peter, back to you. Thank you.
that a lot of ideas will be also transformed into our discussions. Mr. Horváth, what do you think about the words of Mr. Catran when we go further? Today we live in a era where we have the big companies with big visionaries, like Mr. Branson, like Mr. Bezos, like Jack Ma, the guy from Tesla. So where do you think the ideas has to come from? From this one, separate visionaries, or is it useful to look down to the floor and pick up all the ideas from the little people?
Well, I think I can sign almost everything which I heard from Tal. I think it was an amazing speech. And coming back to your question, I think we really need visionaries, right? But at the same time, the innovation, especially in banking, is a very personal thing. It's very personal when it comes to people. People was the word that Tal very oftenly mentioned. And I think that's our role if we talk about innovation in banking. I think we need to really listen to what are the people's need, what are the consumer need, what is the consumer behavior. When talking about digital, let me tell you a very short example. Now, a couple of years ago, we talk about digital as a behavior of young people with smartphone or tablets. But look at the world now, where the world is coming. Well, my dad, he's a winemaker. He's ordering his wooden barrels for a wine online or even using the smartphone. My 7 years old daughter, she has kids-friendly smartwatches, and she's calling FaceTime call to me quite often during the day, right? So the digital behavior is here, and it will stay for good. From the very little ones to people who are reaching the autumn of their lives, right? So it's nothing niche anymore. And the key point in innovation, especially in banking, to make sure that we can enable those everyday joys which life brings, to enable it, and enable it the way that people don't think about money, don't think how to manage their money, how to move money, spend money. They just, the role is to make sure that we listen to all those details of everyday life and enable that joys, the way that you don't need to think or stress too much about your financial situation or managing your finance itself, right? So coming back to your question, I think our role is really need to stay at the ground, listen to people's needs, and then transfer it into the innovation, which is very new and which can shape the market to the future, right? So bring something which is maybe not expected by customers, but can positively surprise and at the same time enable them those joys which you can have every day.
Thank you very much. Let's have a look on the other speakers.
I think that's a great question. Yeah, so actually that's a question that we help financial institutions answer very much. I mean, at Backbase, we're an engagement banking platform ourselves, so we help financial institutions, financial services become, the bank that people love, as Martin so explained, and we do that by enabling world-class digital user experiences and journeys. Whatever the touch point, whatever the the distribution channel, so to speak, for employees of the bank and also for the end customer. And fortunately, with Backbase, you don't have to buy or build. You can actually get the best of both worlds. You can get full control over your platform because it's built on open standards. And it's built on open standards that are best practices in the industry, like native iOS or native Kotlin technologies for mobile, all the way down to the bottom of the software stack. And what that does is that we can bring acceleration to a financial institution in their digital transformation agenda, but we don't lock them into our platform. We actually enable their own internal IT teams, their own innovation hub that they might want to build and ramp up internally to actually build on top of our platform as well. So I think it's about enabling customers getting both the speed and flexibility instead of one or the other.
Okay, in Netherlands, we are not just imperiums. We are smaller countries. I know that Slovakia is smaller than Netherlands, but we are not that big. What do you think about this topic? Slovak banks are smaller banks which have their mothers abroad. When it comes to Netherlands, you have also your own banks which are global. What do you think about this topic? Do you think that the banks need their own innovative hubs, or is there a global system which you can buy and work with it, and you don't need any other ideas or entities in your company? So, Mr. Horváth, we cannot hear Mr. Voortman. It's not possible. What do you think about this question?
Well, if I may to add, I think the way how we approach this topic in 365 Bank is we call it Innovation Hub. What does that mean? Innovation is something which is maybe on the edge of a future, what you bring. But at the same time, it's a hub which is a center of something. If you bring these together, you have in your heart, in your company, unit which is actually enabling that innovation towards the customer. Now, if you think about buying something from outside world or developing it inside, I think the great thing is to make a great combination out of this one, which means we are investing into technologies we can reuse, we can use some out-of-box functionalities, at the same time listening to our customers and to their needs, develop those technologies the way that the technologies is answering that need. So if you have it in the center of your company, if you have it built around the customer needs and using the newest technology, which is being used by industry leaders globally, then I think that's a great setup to bring to your customers such solutions which are making their lives much easier in everyday life.
How do you pick up the people for your innovative hub?
Well, luckily, there's a lot of people coming towards 365 Bank, and they like our vision, how we are changing the financial industry. We are currently being perceived as the #1 digital bank in Slovakia, and that's because my previous notes of building the technology around the customer and for a customer. And if you build your financial services this way, I think that attracts, let's say, the job market the way that many people with similar vision are coming. They're asking, what do we do, how we do it, and they want to join us. So luckily, we are currently in a position where many other people from the market are sharing our vision. They're joining us, and that's the way how great ideas are coming to the world. So.
Thank you. Let's have a look if we have the connection with Mr. Voortman and if we can hear him.
I hope so. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Hear you. So,
I will still answer your question between the difference between the Netherlands and Slovakia. We think that Slovakia is a perfect country within the European Union with the euro currency to test out new fintechs for bigger banks. So, although we know that the Netherlands was the first in cloud banking, and actually I'm very proud at Ohpen that we were the first worldwide bringing a customer to the cloud. So from the Dutch side, we are also focusing on innovation, but it was very tough. Now it's really normal, but I think there's a perfect opportunity in Slovakia, where we have also 2 offices in Bratislava and Žilina with more than 100 people working for us. It's all about the people. And I think there's a big opportunity, although the banks are foreign owned, to look around, to test out fintech solutions, and because it's a playground, I think within the European Union, which is a smaller market with a euro currency, I think it's just perfect, and this is just the start. Maybe this conference is the start.
Tests will go the right way, because if they don't, we are a test nation afterwards, and we have to share the consequences.
Yeah, maybe, but I think Slovakia should be proud because there's a lot of, like Mr. Horváth said, a lot of brilliant engineers, and we're also very happy that they are attracted to our company because they like freedom, sloboda. Yeah, so they like to create, and I think they can lead the way for a lot of other banks and other in Europe.
I had the opportunity to talk to our Ministry of Industry last week. It was also yesterday, but about those topics we talked a week before, and he was talking about companies without people, so fully automatic companies, maybe included
artificial intelligence.
Thank you. What is the trend now? Do you think that banks in the future will be without people?
No. Simple question. I think no, but let me tell you my thoughts about the combination of people and technology, because technology and especially artificial intelligence could mean nothing without interesting ideas and entry points from creative people. So I think if you connect technology and people right way, you can transfer it into the solutions which are making everyday life much easier. Now, people, technology, and banking without people, I think digitization and digital transformation of banks will bring a lot of digital solutions for everyday financial services for usual consumer, sending money, receiving money, innovating in credit loans and mortgages. I think that's the trend which we can clearly see. At the same time, that means that simple transactions can be easily done in digital world, but at the same time, financial decisions of customers are usually very important for their lives, and they many times they want to validate their way of thinking with someone who understands financial business, who can lead them what is the best financial solution for their life situation. So if you connect daily banking, daily usual life, and enable servicing that in digital world, and on top of that you build trust by helping people with human behavior, human discussions, and help people at the retail branches to understand how the financial world works and how they can make their financials better. I think that's the great combination. So enabling good technology built on creative ideas of people, putting it into together with great customer service at the retail branches. I think that's the great combination of omnichannel service, which can make the life of everyday customers much easier.
Well, artificial intelligence. Thank you very much. Pierre-Alexandre, what do you think about this topic when it comes to decisions? Who will make the decisions in the future? It will be the artificial intelligence, or it will stay in the hands of living people?
Yeah, I think that's. I think it's difficult to predict. I also think it depends on the type of industry that you are in. I think that obviously we're already seeing a lot of let's say, different types of roles and different types of labor being automated by not just artificial intelligence, but automation of processes, automations coming from machines. When it comes to decision making, let's say at the executive level of a company, it's left to be seen whether artificial intelligence will be able to do that in the next couple of years. It could very well be. I think again, I'm sitting on the fence on this answer, so I don't have a clear cut yes or no. But it definitely would make for a very interesting dystopian sci-fi movie to see companies completely autonomous without any human, let's say, intervention or any human decision making. Let's see. Hope we're still alive when we see that changes.
Yeah, Mr. Voortman.
Yeah, if I may react, I would like to make a little bit more bold statement. I'm not from a bank. We have a vision that we will save up for the bank employees who do the underwriting, so granting the loans, but also servicing portfolio. We are building a back office where you need 0 to none people to manage the portfolio. Coming back to your artificial intelligence question, we already have implementation in the Netherlands for lending and, for instance, mortgages, that the amount of time of an individual person within a bank looking to grant a mortgage or to grant a loan is minimized to a couple of minutes, instead of hours going through papers and everything, because the rest is all optimized with machine learning, artificial intelligence, etc. But there's one key thing, and I know there's also people of the National Bank of Slovakia and other legislation institutes are there, is that the legislation should also be more that we need less paperwork, less coming to branches to fill in all kinds of old-fashioned papers. Let's put it like this. And that and I agree with Mr. Horváth on the point that customers of the future, they want to talk to a real person, maybe, or in the future, in 10 years, to somebody who understands. Can be also a robot, in my opinion. But they want to be advised. So I think still there will be people, but the rest in the banks, there will be more engineers than banking people that they are now today in 10 years' time.
I think what's more interesting maybe to add is not necessarily artificial intelligence, but the metaverse. I don't think we've touched upon this, and Facebook has just launched a campaign to hire 10,000 new employees to build a completely new company. They're going to rename Facebook as the company that is, let's say, embarking on the metaverse and seeing how financial services adapt to that future, that new norm, which is coming to the fore, where people will just be wearing Apple glasses and interacting with augmented, versions of reality. Going into a store and seeing the price tag of food hovering above, like a bubble, above certain fruits, certain products and services, and being able to purchase them directly integrated into, let's say the payment wallet of your eyeglasses. I mean, that's going to be fundamentally revolutionary. That's going to streamline a lot of decision making and processes.
So this is the future. Young people lying with glasses on the head in the bed, getting fat, getting sweaty, and doing nothing, just using their heads and their brains and then communicating, but not moving?
Not necessarily. I think there's a difference between augmented reality and virtual reality, right? Virtual reality means you don't need to leave the house, right? Augmented reality is you're interacting with the existing real world, but you're adding another layer of digital, let's say, reality on top of it. So you will be active, but yes, there could be some. I think there could be some, let's say, requirements to leverage that more than staying at home, becoming fat and sweaty on the couch using virtual reality. But let's see.
about to add one example from the real world, which is very relevant for us these days, especially when talking about mortgages, digitization, artificial intelligence, and actually regulation from the other side. Now, couple of days ago, we were launching a digital mortgage in app of the 365 Bank. But what does that mean? Well, we were not fully able to digitize the whole process. The actual regulation is not allowing that. But at the same time, we were at least able to save 1 or 2 visits of the retail branch for the customer, right? So if you would like to buy some real estate for you, maybe you can save a couple of the visits of the retail branch by solving the mortgage through the app. At the same time, still signing what was already said, there is a paperwork needed to be signed in offline world, in a shop, right? And combining this with artificial intelligence, on top of this, we built a chatbot, which is helping you to understand the whole process through from the very beginning to the signing it digitally in your app, right? So that's exact example of how artificial intelligence can be currently combined with the technology, but to the level current regulation is allowing it. So this is the world that we're living right now. What does that mean for the future? I think having less and less paperwork in the future and solving those needs from the very beginning to the end in the app is the near future, couple of years. Well, what will bring the next decade, we'll see.
So when it comes to information, the intelligence is okay. When it comes to decisions, it must stay with the people, and it cannot be like the computer decided something. Yeah.
Well, sometimes it can be. It's usually driven by trust of the customer. So sometimes, and especially these days, there is still, especially in financial services, that trust is much bigger when you talk to human. At the same time, well, thinking about what my 7-year daughter will expect from the technology later on, I think she will be much more comfortable with talking with bots.
Okay, Mr. Jan Lambert Voortman, what will you test in Slovakia next time?
That depends, of course, on the banks. So we need innovative banks like of Mr. Horváth to test out our proposition. We are currently talking with 2 large Slovak banks because due to the legislation, as also Mr. Horváth just described, you have to check some papers. Yeah. So, and we hope that we can take our solution, which works already for 10 years in the Netherlands, where we use a kind of OCR technology, but there's much more machine learning and other stuff around, that the papers that the proving papers that customers have to present in the branch, that they just can upload it and that they are 24/7 approved, so that there's another step eliminated to go to the branch and waiting for better legislation, that this step is completely obsolete.
Pierre-Alexandre, how important is for the banks to collect information? And you mentioned also metadata. To me, happened last time I was in a shop looking at 2 shoes, and when I came home, an advertisement for these shoes appeared on my screen. Is this the way how the banks will collect more information about the clients?
I think we have to be careful because in financial services, compared to social network systems, there's a lot more regulatory oversight. Across Europe, though, all industries need to be compliant with GDPR. So there's a fine balance. But as long as the customer consents, right? I think, let's say in the onboarding process, when you become a new customer with a bank, for example, you can just tick a checkbox in the terms and conditions that allows the financial institution to collect that information to provide a more tailored and personalized experience moving forward. That's exactly what we do at Backbase. And I'm very proud that we're not only talking to banks in Slovakia, but we actually officially partnered with 365 Bank. So it's good to see you again, Martin. And it's precisely to facilitate this ambition to become a digital first institution, and to actually allow for not only a human touch but a hyper personalized experience. So being able to push advice and notifications, or different types of campaigns within the mobile banking or internet banking experience to educate maybe the consumer, saying, hey, have you seen our new budgeting feature to allow you to manage your finances better, and directing them to that piece, to that part of the app, or nudging them to look into potentially adopting an overdraft, because based on their spending analysis, they're always in the red before the salary comes in. So they might need an overdraft to minimize the impacts of, let's say, the negative economic costs of having to be in the red every time. So we do that at Backbase, and very proud that we're enabling financial institutions globally, but also regionally and locally in Slovakia to achieve that.
Let's go to security. It's wonderful, Mr. Horváth, that we can get a loan with 3 clicks, or we can do something in our bank with less moves than before. But when it comes to security, it's the same. You leave your cell phone somewhere, somebody else is coming, and maybe he can find out your code or something. He can go inside the phone and he knows everything. He can work with your account in a bank. How expensive can this be to secure all these online systems?
Well, I think financial services is the market where the security needs to be number one priority, right? If you want your customers to trust you and let their money be in your institution, I think you need to be pretty sure that you have trust both ways, that you can actually securely manage the financials, right? So when it comes to topic, I think for any bank, not only for 365 Bank, it needs to be the key priority. Now, when it comes to expensive, obviously, if you have it on top of your priority, most of your funds need to be invested into securing your ecosystems the way that the money are well secured, right? Now, us in 365 Bank, we see it in kind of a triangle of 3 eyes. What does that mean? Well, first of all, we are heavily investing into to the security to make sure that we can provide our services the way that our customers can trust us. That's number one. Number two is, as Pierre already mentioned, we are cooperating with the best in the world. Well, the technology, Backbase and some others in our ecosystem are long-termly perceived as number one at the market when it comes to banking service. So that's a second point where you believe that the investment in to security is not underestimated, and then you have number three, which is a regular auditing yourself by someone else who is actually even testing and proving that your technology, your processes, your funds are good enough to make sure that you are not just matching the expectations, but overcoming it in front of your customers, right? So priority number one, connecting 3 points together. I think that's the good way how to make sure that customers can feel safe with interacting with bank.
Well, let's compare it to a little child which wants to have fun, wants to have everything very easy, wants to have it in now. This is a bank client. Don't you think that in this position, the security at one point could be more expensive than the profits which the banks are making So isn't that a future trap to go online to make everything much more easier and then have the problem to secure all this system? Mr. Voortman, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I think it's an excellent question. And what we have seen so far, we are now managing around 20 customers, and we are responsible for 100 billion euros in assets under management. So also our security is top number one priority, but we share the security cost across 20 banks. So what we see is that we get enormous amount of new customers because they don't want to bear the cost of that part of security, what we can do for the core banking part, and also on the legislation part to stay compliant. And because I don't think it's only the security costs that are rising, but also the to stay compliant with local and European law is making a heavily burden on banks. And I think that's you are pinpointing the trouble of, I think, many banks in Europe, where to spend the money. Do we have enough money to innovate and to move away from our legacy? But we have to stay secure and compliant. So this is an ongoing battle.
Great, Pierre-Alexandre?
On the topic of security, I mean, again, I don't think they go in the direct contradiction of providing a seamless customer experience. You can actually provide security and still provide seamless experiences on the digital channels. That's exactly what we do at Backbase as well. We have what we call identity access management solutions that allow to create complex, let's say, hierarchies within the digital channels to provide, different user rights to different individuals. If you want a joint account, for example, you need, complex logic to control who has power over what. We also enable that in the corporate banking space. So if you have, 10, 20, 30 employees accessing, the digital channels, you want to give power rights to, the financial controller or the CFO. But if you have, just let's say an accountant joining and needs to see the payables and receivables, but not the total cash flow of the business, then they have less access rights. In addition to this, we've built PSD2 compliant capabilities like strong customer authentication or transaction signing, and that seamlessly is, let's say, built into the actual digital channels, the digital experience. So when you are, for example, sending a payment over a specific amount, right, you sign that transaction with a, let's say, step-up authentication method that is proving that you are this individual and that and that you, let's say, own the device that you have in your hand, so that you are completely, let's say, compliant and proving that you are that person, so that you're not, let's say, someone has not kidnapped your phone or stolen your phone and making these types of transactions. And that's, happy to demo these. Actually, we have our annual conference on November 11th. So you'll be able to see these types of user journeys that are completely omni-channel and completely seamless. And it looks like you're just pausing and playing an episode on two different channels on Netflix. And that's what we're bringing to banking, is that Netflix experience, but making sure that everything is inherently and natively secure by default.
So I've seen some application with fingerprint or with your face. Is this secure enough?
Well, that biometrics is one, let's say, one factor. That's definitely a form of security, but there's also things like one-time passwords. Right. So I don't know if anybody uses Google Authenticator. I know that to log into Binance, for example, in my Binance account, which are one of their sponsors at this event, I use my Google Authenticator to log in, and that's actually also what we bring to banks. In addition to that, you could get an SMS OTP, which is a little bit less secure, but there's a variety essentially of different types of levels of security that you can bring to different types of user journeys that you want to enable. And they have to be compliant with the RTS standards that have been laid out by the European Union.
So how much of your systems which are you developing is security, and how much is online making comfortable services for the clients?
We don't separate the two. So we make sure that everything, all of our software that is built end to end is inherently secure. So in addition to security features for the end customer, we also have to build the software itself secure. So we want to make sure that we can prevent things like man-in-the-middle attacks. For example, someone who's intercepting the interconnection of the mobile app and the bank. And so that's built into our practices of when we develop software. We're making sure that inherently the checks throughout the continuous integration and continuous development of our software doesn't have any bugs, doesn't have any loopholes, doesn't have any backdoors, etc., etc.
Thank you very much. Some other notes to security, Mr. Voortman or Mr. Horváth?
Well, maybe just one side note from my side. Very often we see regulation something as a bottleneck in our visions and innovations, right? But I think especially when talking about security, the regulation goes hand in hand and is shaping the best security features for the customer together with financial institutions. So I think the ecosystem of banks, consumer itself, and a regulator as a European Union or national state, I think that's a great ecosystem to make sure that the security is really priority number one.
As we told already, the banks are changing. In the future, in the past, we had banks with big treasures somewhere in the salary, with golden bars, with a lot of physical money. Do you have physical money in your bank?
Well, we need to have, so yes, we do.
So, and can you imagine that it will disappear somehow and we can live without physical money in the future?
I think if you see, again, I will come maybe one step back to consumer behavior. You can see where the economy is heading, right? And the everyday behavior. You are using your cash money less and less and less. And as a customer, you are actually enjoying the cashless economy more and more, right? You are using e-commerce, you are paying with your phone or with your card with the NFC chips in a shops, and you actually don't feel the need of physical money anymore. Well, except some cases, but to see it from the angle of customer, I think that's exactly where consumer needs are heading. And we're here to enable that ecosystem to work seamlessly. And the combination of technology and security is exactly there to build it.
This idea came, I believe, from Finland. They were the first who talked about a financial system without money, without physical money. How far are we from this idea, Mr. Voortman?
Difficult to say, but what I see in the Netherlands, that the real cash money is almost gone, and because in every shop you pay by card, or actually you see a lot of people paying by phone or by the watch, and I think that's also another good thing what could happen to our economy, because then everything is digital and there is no black money. Yeah, so because we know that. And the financial crime, etc. So it also goes down. That's also what we've seen in the Netherlands. So I'm a big sponsor that everything is cashless because it's less robberies, less corruption, less painful stuff. So let's go for it.
When this idea appeared first, the guys which were against it told that we are losing freedom. Pierre-Alexandre, do you think that we are losing freedom by removing physical money?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on who it's impacting, right? So I think if you are, let's say, for example, I was just in Bulgaria a few days ago for a proof of concept, and I was traveling throughout Bulgaria, and they accept different types of payments, but the taxi drivers prefer taking cash because obviously they can, potentially pocket a little bit of the cash for themselves. And if you're in low income societies, cash is a nice way to better your, let's say, living standards. If everything's tracked and everything's let's say cashless, then it's a bit more difficult for those individuals to step up on the economic ladder, which is unfortunate, right? On the other hand, I agree with Jan's point is that you want to remove gray area, black areas of the market where a lot of corruption or a lot of let's say illegal activities are being used with cash. However, with the rise of cryptocurrencies and digital currencies, you can be also an entirely cashless society, or you can leverage these types of economic instruments to be entirely digital, but also not be tracked. For example, Monero is one of the cryptocurrencies that improved upon, let's say, Bitcoin's initial principle was being an anonymous currency. They've actually made it happen, and until quantum computing comes around and breaks their cryptography, it's entirely private, and individuals are using that to transact, to buy all sorts of goods and services on the dark web. So yeah, it really depends on what we're defining cashless society and who that's actually impacting. But I think as a whole society, we should enable and not only empower cashlessness via trackable means, but we should also empower individuals to step up on the economic ladder and help them to be incentivized to opt into that type of economy, or else the incentive mechanisms today are not there in some societies, and that's unfortunate.
Which brings us to the question on which soil should the banks stand. You remember the money from Czechoslovak Socialist Republic. It was written there, this banknote is covered by gold, which is deployed in our national bank. What is the soil of the banks today? Bitcoins, maybe some technological actions, or I don't know, other active values you can build on?
I think I will catch something on a word of technological background, and coming a little back to the cash discussion, the way that in a couple of years ago, when cash was the key commodity you were holding in your hand, right? Imagine that you get your cash, you have a pack of notes.
Cash age.
Yeah, cash age, you will know that. In a cash age, you have a pack of notes, and if you have a regular salary, you see those notes coming smaller, and smaller. So you can somehow adapt your behavior based on how much cash you actually see, because you are seeing it lowering, right? At the same time, now in digital age, you are paying with your phone, paying in your phone, maybe sometimes with smart watches, with a card, not always checking how much money you actually have. So I think coming back to cash or digital world, I think that's the role of the bank right now, and maybe speaking about data as well, to offer the service of understanding your spends, even though that you are not following it so much, how you are actually financially behaving, and helping you through the time to make sure that you are not losing money, but actually earning them, working with them the way that you don't need to control them so much, as you were seeing that cash coming less and less, but actually working on them to make sure that your financial behavior is responsible. and you are investing to yourself in the future, right? So that's the role of the data, that's the role of the banks, that's the role of technology, to make sure that even though we live in a digital world and sometimes you don't see that pack of cash, you can be sure that your bank is working with you to make sure that your behavior is responsible, and we pardon my French, we get your ass, right? So.
Well, this I understand, but the question was about the trust and the image of the banks. In the past time, you could see big building in the center of the city, big treasure with the golden bars. So that's a good bank. This is a bank I can trust. What can you tell us about the banks now? Where are the golden bars? Where are the big buildings?
I think when it comes to trust, well, the banks somehow understood that they need to stay humble to make sure that the trust is there. So we're not there sitting on a pack of cash and you guys are walking on a street now. We're part of you. We understand your needs. There's always place you can where you can visit us, talk with us. That's the topic about technology and human interaction. There is always place you can come. Obviously, there is always place where you can take your cash money, and at the same time, you can check it not only in the banks itself, but every day, every second, every minute in your phone as well. And that's where the trust is built.
Can you imagine, Pierre-Alexandre, that a banker builds his trust by opening the treasure and showing, okay, we have 50,000 bitcoins here?
Well, El Salvador is doing that, right? They officially announced that Bitcoin is actually an official form of legal tender in their country. They announced this during the summer. So I do imagine a future where actually banks will be holding cryptocurrencies as custody, and that's really when mainstream adoption is going to pick up, because legislation is coming to the space, which is some people are saying is going to make cryptocurrencies crash and no longer be let's say high performing assets. But I disagree with that. I think it's going to bring legitimacy to the space. The evolution of money has always been an interesting topic. I think Yuval Harari wrote a very good book called Sapiens that I would recommend everyone reading, and is also his sequels to that, and he addresses the evolution of money. Money, whether it's in the form of gold, whether it's in the form of paper or digital currencies, at the end of the day, it's just a collective faith of people in the value of this particular asset. If you remove the human element, if you remove humanity entirely, and you just leave the planet on its earth, and animals living on this planet, and trees growing, and hopefully climate returning to normal, climate change reversing. But if you leave the planet to its own devices, gold does not have value. And the cash money in your pocket does not have value. Bitcoin does not have value. None of this has value. It only has value because of a collective faith of more and more and more people attributing value to that particular asset.
So do you think that in the future the banks partly can stand on the cryptocurrencies and make them like to be their basic capital, Mr. Lambert-Wortman?
Yeah, but I think Pierre already said it already. Depends on what is trusted by communities. But I think it's more important again the legislation, national bank, the European Central Bank, the financial system. I think they are still. You talked in your introduction about dinosaurs. I think there's still a kind of dinosaur mentality to do things the old way. So as long as that stays, then maybe in 20 or 30 years it might be all digital money, and whatever coin is then or whatever asset is then valued by the whole world, it can be. So I think it's more for, if I see to my young kids how they treat banks, etc. They see big buildings and arrogant banks really as non-trustable. Yeah, so I think the new generation, they would like to see fresh, innovative, trustworthy, not big posh buildings of banks. So they want to really efficient organizations helping them, standing next to them.
Thank you. We have 10 minutes left, so let's go to the climate change. All these online technologies, bitcoins, cryptocurrencies, it needs a lot of electricity. And while developing or using this electricity, we are leaving very deep footprints on our climate and our environment. What is your bank doing with this topic?
Thank you for the question. I think
didn't expect it. Yeah,
I didn't expect it. I think that's a great question for us because we are long-termly focusing on sustainability, not only in a overall business, but ecology and the environment itself. Well, what does that mean in tangible examples? I think I can proudly say that we are very first bank in the region who actually commit to become carbon neutral in upcoming years. I think it's 2025, even though I'm not sure, but I think it's 2025 with a pure carbon neutrality, which is a huge step for us to reach. And it's definitely not an easy task to do. But how we are transferring this into everyday actions? Well, as a, let's say, being a digital native or having this digital in our heart, I think we introduce a lot of new processes which are paperless for our customers. More you can solve through the app, more you can solve through the digital channels, less paper you are spending on contracts, on everything. That's a huge contribution towards the environmental sustainability as well. And at the same time, we are trying to, two more examples, we're trying to talk with our customers and motivate them to invest into ecological real estate, offering them eco mortgage. So more ecological, more you invest into ecological sustainability towards your real estate, better pricing you can get when it comes to mortgages. So very interesting principle as well. But what I think it's very important, even though there is not much talks about it, is look at the media spend of the market, right? Telco and banking industry is usually one of the biggest media spends around when it comes to advertising. And what we do, we try to put the message, the vision of our ecological sustainability towards the communication, using that media space to share the vision with our customers. And we truly hope and believe that this can actually inspire the community, our customers, and people around the Slovakia to think about the topic. And that's again quite a heavy investment into making sure that the topic is visible, that what we all as a community should think about the ecology itself. And that's how we transfer our vision of sustainability into the tangible actions.
So it's not just marketing because you are focusing on the young people and it's very popular to talk about those topics?
Well, I can say that we start to talk about ecology before it was cool in financial industry. From the very beginning, we are here to contribute on that topic. From the very beginning, we try to be paperless. And the reason why we do it is not only because it makes everyday life easier, but I think we need to be responsible. We need to make sure that we are making steps which makes this world a better place. And I think that that's the responsibility of the big companies overall in economy, right? Not only think about what is cool, but start to maybe think of what next could be done, right? For example, the carbon neutrality. That's not many places where you can actually read about it, or we are not shouting it across the world, right? But we commit to that, and we didn't need to do that. But at the same time, we are there, and we are pushing hard to make sure that we can reach that point.
I could see that the young people are asking the banks not to give loans to technologies which are built on fossil material. Would you go so far?
Well, if we talk about, for example, investment funds we're selling to our customers, Ecology Fund is one of the leading in our portfolio, which means that we are really supporting our customers to make sure that they make choices which are responsible for the future. So the answer would be yes.
All the online systems, as we mentioned, and it's logical, needs electricity. When we look at the balance in between renewable resources and, for example, electricity made of atomic power, it's still more electricity made by atomic power than from the other sources. Do you think that it's okay just to rely on the online system, just to rely on the internet and all this other communication, which spends a lot of electricity, and on the other hand, to talk about ecology, climate change, how can it go together at the base of the banks? Mr. Lambert Voortman, for example?
I think I don't think there's an analysis done on the cost of online systems and cloud systems that are perceived like also heavily consuming energy. But if in the same time also work is shifted to customers and less banking employees, so less buildings, buildings needs also energy, etc. So I think maybe there is a kind of balance. But I think there's also another dimension from climate I just want to mention in the last couple of minutes, is that we think that the government, as an example in the Netherlands, stood up, is that financing homeowners or homeowners associations, which are not served by the regular banks, to make their houses sustainable. And we think that that is a tremendous important initiative, which could be also rolled out in the rest of Europe, especially where, and also inspiring other banks just to serve this community, which is not served by banks, to make our homes more sustainable.
Thank you very much. Pierre-Alexandre, any notices also to this?
Yeah. So I think one of your original let's say points saying that coming back to the cryptocurrency topic that you said it uses a lot of energy. I think that's a partially false narrative, because you have different types of networks leveraging proof of work like Bitcoin, where they are using a lot of energy, or because it's an algorithm and it requires you to actually have multiple different, let's say, computers and chips solving different types of solving these algorithms to produce blocks in the blockchain. So those are definitely energy consuming. But again, it's all about where are you getting the source of your power there. So if it's solar power, then is that really a negative? Is that negative impact on climate or not? Then you have proof of stake type networks that are completely that use a lot less energy. For example, Tesos uses 0.00001% of the energy that Bitcoin does. And if you look at the banking system, the traditional banking system, and you compare it to Bitcoin directly, they actually use 100 times more energy. The traditional financial system uses 100 times more energy than the Bitcoin network does. And that's because they are paper-based, and that's because they are leveraging buildings, and they need to power these buildings where all of these employees are, transacting, and printers, producing paper and contracts and so forth. So, I think as part of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs 7 and 3, using digital technology to promote, for affordable, clean energy and advanced climate action. I think we at Backbase, together with financial institutions that we're partnering, like 365 Bank, or others like eToro. We were really spearheading the digitization end to end of every single process, whether it's mortgages, online account opening, or making sure that people are using the digital tools, because I can guarantee you, using digital tools versus booking an appointment, going into a branch and printing out 13-page documents and signing them with a relationship manager, I can guarantee you that's less energy intensive. And leveraging cloud technologies, yes, will increase, but we need to compare it relative to how traditional finance works, and how physical interaction and the use of paper works. I think that it is offset by the gain in streamlining those processes and using digital tools.
Thank you very much. Hopefully, it will work out. Gentlemen, we have spent all the time which was dedicated to our discussions. Maybe some last words?
Well, thank you for inviting. I think it was a very richful discussion. Maybe last word from ourselves would be, even though if we see people like Elon Musk, Richard Branson, and seeing those visionaries when it comes to innovation, I think the financial institutions today need to make really sure that we bring everyday simple innovations to make people's life easier. Because they, even though it could be for them inspirative to see huge projects in upcoming years, I think the true role of ourselves is to make sure that the technology works towards the everyday customer needs. And that's what I think is our role. That's why we have 365 Innovation Hub. And I think that's what we try to deliver. So whoever wants to join us, feel free.
So we are not planning to launch a missile somewhere into the space.
Well, we are, but we mostly like to spend our time listening to what customer really needs.
Thank you very much. Jan Lambert, Voortman.
Yeah, looking forward to the best for Slovakia. We have grown over the last years, many people in Slovakia, and there's a lot of talent in Slovakia, and there's a lot of people working in Slovakia on financial technology, whereby it's not always known by the banks. So I wish that there's more collaboration in the country itself with all the great people that they are, and that also Slovakia wants to become proud on this position in the European Union.
Pierre-Alexandre, your last words?
I just want to thank everyone in this event, having participated in, and obviously privileged to be invited. So thank you very much for great organization, great hosts. Thank you, Peter. Yeah, great to have a chat with discussing these topics with Jan, and of course Martin, a good friend of mine. So yeah, nothing else to add. I think it was very stimulating, and I'm wishing you all a very enjoyable rest of the event.
Thank you very much. I'm looking at the organizers. If they are satisfied with also my performance, we can probably see us next time. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you for this discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Good job.